I had to completely rebuild
with
my health before I
fibromyalgia,
could help
chronic
others rebuild
fatigue. I
theirs.
had toxic metal in my mouth. I had just the variety of symptoms you had that makes you feel unwell, and it's from lifestyle. And I figured that out and began eating well. And this amazing discovery came to my head, like, if I didn't know this, maybe many people didn't know this. So I said it was time for me to share with everyone. And that's when I started my business, Your Health Unbound. And that's where I work with people who have, usually they're older, like 50 plus, because they're at the point of their life where they're considering retiring, but they're just not healthy and they want to look towards a better life in retirement. And so I've worked with all ages. I've worked everything from teenagers to 80-year olds. But for the most part, it's in that age group where people are discovering that what they've done for the last 30 years is not benefiting them. And we try to reverse that. And in the process, they feel like they're young again, and they go on having this fulfilling retirement. So it's a transition phase for most people, but I've had clients with me for 1 or 2 sessions that accomplish it, and then I've had clients with me for a year who feel like they need to just have that continuing, touching base and feeling better. So I've gotten the gamut, and at this point, I reached my age where I felt like I needed something more to do, and it wasn't just about health, because during the last 5 years during COVID, I discovered people were losing their autonomy. They were giving up their bodily autonomy. They were giving up their sovereignty. And so I started with the Sovereign Sisters podcast, talking about a variety of topics of how to remain sovereign, or if you're not sovereign, become sovereign again, and trust your own instincts and not rely on external authorities to give you your information, because you are your own authority. You are the best authority you can have. And so I developed this about a year and a half ago, and I've had a variety of guests on, from health professionals to people who teach about sovereignty. It's like my upcoming guest is Cal Washington, who works in the Empower movement, having people take back control in their local government and become their own authority and sovereign in their own life, in their own county where they live. So I'm trying to touch on the various topics. I've taught about homeschooling. I've taught about, a lot of health topics too, good food addiction, things like that. But I like to focus on topics that are not being discussed widely. Again, I've had all sorts of people on. Matt Roski, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He does Cultivate, Elevate. He does all variety of topics, from everything from Tartaria to, different books about, health and the world around us. I've had Susan Thixton on about commercial dog food and how it's killing our dogs. So I'm just trying to educate people. You may not hear this somewhere else, but I'm trying to bring it to people. So now at least they have one repository where they can hear what they may not hear in the mainstream, but is truth. And that's what we need to get back to. We need to get back to actual truth. And having the truth helps you remain sovereign.
Right. Thank you so much. Actually, you have taken me through your entire journey, right? Before I could ask any question to you. But
Sorry, I'm kind of used to that. When I get speaking engagements, people want to know the history, and so I just kind of go through it.
history is more important. No, of course. That's the most important thing. That actually narrates your story, narrates how you started your own entrepreneurship, how you became nutritionist, why you started podcast. So this is why is very important to know, to let people know, right? And that story actually touches the heart out over here, Angela. So thank you so much. I really, hear you out, and I totally understand you over here. Uh, you know, but to begin with, Angela, I would like to understand from you who Angela is. How would you describe yourself to the readers out there? Who Angela is, who Angela Atkins is.
Well, I've always considered myself an independent thinker. So
Okay.
I consider myself unique in who I am, but part of the whole body of the
Mm.
citizens of the world. So I want to be in community with people, but I also remain sovereign to myself. So who I am is I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a health coach, I am a child of God. I feel very strongly about things in the world today, and it has taken me to the point now that I need to be outspoken. I just need to speak out and say those things. So that's who I am now.
That's good. That's good. Now, of course, I know about your own venture, about, of course, your health unbound. And I understand the audience as well, majorly the 50 plus, right? Um, so is that the only niche audiences that you are tapping to, Angela, or it's like, because nowadays, people in their 30s and in their 40s, they also need some nutritionist tips. I would rather say in 25s itself, the kind of
It's not
lifestyle
the
and
only
the work.
audience.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it's not my only audience because now with the podcast, I'm reaching a more diverse audience. For example, I had a younger person, I don't exactly know her age, but she escaped from a cult, and I noticed I got tremendous response to that, and it was from a lot younger audience. So I think it depends on the topic, but I think I'm hitting a variety of ages and groups that are looking for either they're looking for something specific or they're looking for something different, and I think that's where I'm hitting them.
Okay. And how do these people come to know about you? I understand you being into the speaking engagement, you've been into the events, and I could see that, of course, you have a good number of community or followers on LinkedIn as well. But is that the only platform that people come to know about Angela, or how do people approach you?
Well, I also have the blog on Your Health Unbound, and I have an email list, and then I have the weekly podcast, and then I do video updates nearly every day on shorts and things like that.
So you yourself do the email marketing stuff, or you have a team as well?
I'm the team. That's me.
Oh,
I do it all myself.
that's
I do all my video editing, audio,
oh
email.
wow. Oh, wow. So you are a tech person as well.
Well, before I went into health coaching, I was in IT, yes.
Hmm. Okay. Now my next question to you would be, Angela, over here. Any specific challenge if you want to highlight into your business, what challenge would that be?
I think the biggest challenge is to find people who are committed to what they are asking for. So, for example, if you have a health coaching client, and I've had them in the past, and they come to you, I want this, and I try to explain that it's not just one thing. People come there, I want to lose weight, and I'm like, it's not about losing weight, it's about getting healthy. And they'll start the process, and then I realize they're not committed because, during follow-ups, we'll say, well, I didn't have a chance to do that, or I'm not really invested in this, and I say, you know, I really don't want to waste your money or my time. Let's call it a wash here and come back when you're ready. Now, some come back, some don't, and that's okay. But I think the biggest challenge is that people don't make a commitment before they jump into something. And I think that's the thing you have to catch people on. You have to say, okay, are you committed to this process? Because this process is only going to benefit you. But if you're not committed, you're not going to find the benefit.
Okay. And what would be your short-term plans for the remaining months that we have for 2025?
Well, I'm trying to have as many different speakers as I can. So it creates, I have a collection of different thoughts on my podcast site because I think it's important for people to look at things from more than one perspective. And I think we're getting fed, especially mainstream, one one narrative. It's changing slightly, but it's going to take a long time, I think, because people had years of the same thing being pounded in their heads, and so they begin to think in one direction. And I want to have enough information that people can, there must be something else out there, and if they, find me, they can say, here's some different, there's some fresh perspectives, or here's some perspectives I haven't thought of. And that's all I'm trying to do is help people think, have people start using the process of discernment, just looking at information, say, well, it says here, mainstream it says here, but here it says this. These don't seem to meet. What can I gather from that? And so it's kind of shaking people up and making them reevaluate what truth is.
Absolutely. That's very nice quote that you have for the 2025. Of course, something different from all the other, right? Now, my last question to you. I'm saying that if you want to share any motivational message to the womenpreneurs, mompreneurs, women professionals, what message would that be from your end?
Don't lose your sense of self. A lot of women, even when they become entrepreneurs, they are many times still in a male-dominated industry. And so they lose their sense of self and try to acclimate to being in the male part, being more male-like. And moms, and I've done this over and over again with many moms, they lose their sense of self because they're so busy nurturing, or they're so busy giving to others that they forget to give to themselves. And so I think remaining true to yourself and learning that taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is a selfless act, because if you're not whole, how can you give to others? And so even as a mom, given to your children, given to your family, you still have to give to yourself. You have to fill your own cup before you can fill somebody else's. It's the same as the airplane analogy where they say put on your own oxygen mask before putting on somebody else's. You need to fill yourself first.
Of course. Okay, okay. A very good message again, Angela, with a funny note added to it, right? So great. Thank you so much, Angela, for sharing your story